Garbage. Absolutely garbage. I've never seen a dog not hate wearing this. It looks like this constantly. They're trying to or they're digging their face in the ground because they absolutely despise these things. They find them very frustrating. They find them very annoying. Today's video is definitely going to get some people mad. It's going to get the conversation going because in this video, I'm going to be ranking the top 20 most popular dog training tools. From GOAT status, or your typical S tier, to F tier, or please just stop wasting your money. And before anybody says anything or says something like, that tool trained my dog, no training tool does any training on its own. You still have to know how to use the tool. You still have to put in the work. Let's just get that completely out of the way. There is no magic dog training tool. If there was, we'd all be using the same thing. But that's not how this works. There's no magic collar, leash, harness, gadget, food. Nope, none of that exists. You still have to train your dog. These tools I'm about to go over will help either make communication with your dog easier or harder, clearer or more confusing. But at the end of the day, if you don't actually train your dog, none of these tools are gonna save you. But before we get into it, if you enjoy honest, no bullshit conversations about dog training, please take a second and like this video. It really helps YouTube push this video to more dog owners who need to see it. And if you're new here, please subscribe to the channel. I want you to be here. I post new videos every single week on dog behavior and helping owners genuinely understand their dogs. All right, let's get started with number 20, a super controversial one to get started, the retractable or the flexi leash. And this one is super interesting because I remember as a dog owner and a novice dog trainer, I hated these things. If I saw you with one of these things, I thought the absolute worst of you. I thought you were lazy. I thought you didn't know anything about dog training. I thought you just were a total snowflake. But in the end, I was wrong. These are overhated tools. These are actually super helpful when you are doing more advanced things with your dogs. So the problem actually lies is that most people that use these are using these as beginners and they just let their dog kind of do whatever. And that's actually not how to properly use this. So with that being said, this could be a really good dog training tool, but it's not for beginners. So it really depends on this. Okay, number 19, the prong collar. All right, everybody was probably waiting for this one. It's usually in the dog world, it's one of two things. Either you hate these things, they're torture devices, or you're like, man, that thing is awesome. This thing changed my life with my dog. And as for me, what I think of these tools, I can understand this very well because I used to be the one thinking that's a medieval torture device. But now I'm a firm believer in that these things are amazing if you know how to use them. Now, just because they're not torture devices, even though they look like it, these things are also not magic tools. Just like any other tool, this will not stop your dog from pulling automatically. What they do is make communication with your dog on the leash much clearer with your dog without having to use as much force on your end as the owner. And I think that's important, right? Anything I talk about with any dog owner ever about walking the dog nice in the leash is I don't want to have to use a ton of force in order to be able to communicate anything to my dog on the leash. I would want it to be nice and easy. Prong collars are absolutely amazing tools if you know what you're doing. But if you don't know what you're doing and you just slap this on your dog, can you hurt your dog or can you use this incorrectly and hurt your dog? Yeah, you can. But you can do that with every single tool on this list. The problem is never the tool, it's the person that's holding the leash. Whether they know how to use the tool properly is the make or break for whether it works for your dog or it doesn't. Please work with a professional trainer who knows what they're doing if you're going to use this with your dog. Don't just slap it on them and expect miracles. This is a goated tier item for me. All right, so after we just talked about the prong collar, number 18, the harness. And I'm just gonna say it, I'm gonna get it out of the way. I think these things are absolute trash. And now before anybody loses their mind, no, harnesses do not teach your dog how to pull. That is something that balance trainers will try to argue till they're blue in the face, but they don't teach your dog how to pull. Dogs already know how to pull. However, the harness does make pulling safer for your dog if they are going to be pulling, or if you're allowing them to pull. It definitely makes it safer because it allows pressure to be equally distributed amongst dogs' more tolerant body parts like their chest, their back, and their shoulders, so that they're not putting so much pressure onto a vulnerable spot. When dogs are in harnesses, they can lean into pressure pretty comfortably. This is proof when you see a dog that is walking in a harness, just absolutely dragging their owner, and they are just so comfortable doing it because that is how a harness is designed. The owner is typically just holding the leash there and just getting dragged instead of teaching them leash pressure and learning how to communicate with your dog via pressure on the leash. And if you're an owner that your goal is, I just want to be able to safely be attached to my dog without them, I'm cool with them pulling, I just don't want them to hurt themselves when they're pulling, fine, use a harness. But if you are trying to effectively communicate with your dog using the leash and using a tool for loose leash walking, there are so many better options. Okay, 17, another walking tool. Let's talk about the slip lead. Now, I personally love slip leads. I use this almost always first on every dog that I work with. This is how I fundamentally teach pressure, but these are not for beginners. These are an advanced tool. Your timing needs to be on point. Your understanding of pressure has to be on point. For most people, that's just not the case. And I know multiple other trainers who I talk with who love these and they use them all the time too, because we're good with pressure. We're good with using the leash to be able to communicate with dogs. But for the average owner who doesn't have as much skill as a professional, these are not that great. With that being said, it's going to go in the depends section for me. Number 16, the flat collar. Now, this is something that every single dog should have. This is a great way for identification. This is a great one for a quick, potty break. And it's a great one for like everyday wear. But if I'm going to be training the dog and I want to teach them leash pressure and we're actually teaching the concept of pressure first, there are so many better options. So overall, this is a great collar. It's helpful, it's very useful, but it's not the best for training. With that being said, I'm going to put it in the solid tier. Number 15, the long line or the long leash. Now, these things are heavily underutilized. I don't really see a lot of trainers using them as much as they should, but these things are absolutely goated. There's just so much that you can do with this. The only thing I'd say is be careful when you're using a long leash. Obviously, use it in the right context. Be very cognizant of how far your dog can go and don't let them pull you 30 feet away from you. Number 14, the gentle leader or the head halter. Garbage. Absolutely garbage. I've never seen a dog not hate wearing this more than anything else. I don't like harnesses, but dogs generally tolerate being in the harness. It's more comfortable for them. There's definitely dogs that aren't, but I've never met a dog that actually likes wearing this thing. People buy them because they think they're being nicer to their dog, when in reality, they're strapping a piece of fabric along their nose where it's very sensitive. There's a lot of nerves there and they're just being able to yank their dog around the neck, but that is supposedly nicer than wearing a prong collar. Most dogs, when you see them wearing a head halter, it looks like this constantly. They're trying to or they're digging their face in the ground because they absolutely despise these things. They find them very frustrating. They find them very annoying, and they don't give owners any better control other than the ability to yank them around by their neck, which is, again, most of the time why people are against prong collars. They don't want to do that, but they'll do it on a head halter. Make it make sense. Number 13, the treat pouch. These are awesome, especially if you are trying to actively train your dog. Your timing is really important. You need to be able to reinforce what your dog is doing in the moment. So having things easily accessible in a treat pouch is really helpful. I'm not going to waste too much time. These are solid, very solid. Number 12, the clicker. And this is going to upset some people because just listen to what I'm actually saying. Do these work if you know how to use them? Yeah. Are they magic? No. Are there better options? Yeah. Most people are not looking to carry around a device every time they want to try to mark something their dog is doing as either good or bad. It's just not efficient. It's not realistic. There are so many better ways. Just use your words. Use marker words and do it that way. So much easier. You don't have to always have something on you. But because they work, again, they're not wrong, I'm going to put this first one in my skip it pile. Number 11, a place cot. If you've ever seen any of my videos or if you've seen me on any other social media, you're going to probably know I think this is so goated. This is one of the best things that I use on a daily basis. And it's not only just for teaching the place command. It's actually, I use it way more in other ways. I use this every day to help teach dogs how to settle. I use this every day for obedience. I use it for impulse control work. And there are just so many ways to get very good usage out of this. There's not a single bad thing that would come out of owning one of these. I would put this in, again, the goated tier. Okay, we're halfway there. Number 10 here. Let's go with another controversial one, the e-collar or the electric collar or the remote collar. All right, so this is one of the most misunderstood tools in the dog training world. This is not a torture device, just like the prong collar. This is something that is supposed to be used for very, very clear communication with your dog. Half of the internet thinks these are abuse, half of them think it's an amazing tool. I've come full circle. I think an e-collar is an amazing tool. It's phenomenal in the right hands. If I'm ever going to let any dog I ever have or any client's dog ever off leash, it would only be if the dog was e-collar trained, because dogs are dogs at the end of the day. And I always want a method to be able to communicate with my dog, even if they are 50, 100, 200, 300, 400 feet away from me. I'm not going to just chance it to my recall, which I would want to be good with my dog, but I want to have an e-collar on just in case, so I can communicate with them just in case. So for me, these are a phenomenal tool. I want to put them in the goated tier, but I'm going to put them in the solid tier. All right, number 9, a little controversial as well, but for different reasons. Pee pads. Absolute fucking garbage. Do not use these. Don't be lazy. Don't get a dog if you're not going to take it outside. Don't get a dog if you expect them to go inside in the house. That's not what dogs are for. Get a cat. These things effectively teach your dog that going inside, going to the bathroom inside is okay. You cannot expect your dog to not eventually start to just do it in different places that might feel similar, such as your rug or your carpet. No need to waste any more time. Garbage. F tier. Number 8, the crate. Absolutely goated. I don't care what anybody says. Crate training is not cruel. Crate training is not mean. Crate training is one of the best things that you could ever do for your dog's long-term mental stability and overall health. Every single person that is against crate training that I've ever met, clients, people, doesn't really matter, has an anxious dog, has a dog that does not know how to settle, and has a dog where they are so overly emotional with them. Crate training helps with teaching your dog how to have a safe place, helps with potty training, helps with settling, helps with independence, helps with pretty much anything. Think about it. Vets, if your dog's ever going to a vet or has to stay overnight, they're going to be in a crate. If your dog ever, God forbid, gets out and they are, at the police station or whatever, waiting to be picked up, probably in a crate. So yeah, does it take time to train your dog how to use the crate? Yes, but take the time. I promise you, you will be so glad you did. Absolutely goated. Number 7, the tug toy. This one is controversial as well. Let's get it started right off the bat. Playing tug with your dog does not create aggression. I was talking with a client the other day who has a little terrier who's incredibly frustrated on a leash. He will redirect and grab the leash and he tugs as hard as he can on it. But she was told by the shelter not to ever play tug with her dog because it will make him aggressive. And that is just a complete lie. It's one of the biggest myths in dog training. Tug is one of the best games that you can play with your dog. It teaches your dog how to engage with you, teaches your dog how to get out frustration in a very healthy way. It's one of the best ways to teach your dog's impulse control and build your relationship with your dog very healthily through play. This is definitely an S tier goated tool for me. Number 6, the martingale collar. These are solid. They're not anything amazing. They're not anything terrible. They work for some dogs. Some dogs will pull right through them and don't care about the pressure that you're able to use on a martingale. These are totally dependent on the dog and the owner. Number 5, one you don't really see often, that I have one in my facility. They're amazing. Dog treadmills. I think these are amazing. I love them. I think it's great for dogs that have more energy than the owners can get out in a healthy way. I think they're very efficient. They teach the dog both physical and mental exercise at the same time. They're very much a good bang for your buck. It's a couple $100 for a good one, which might seem like a lot, but you will definitely get that return on your investment for sure, especially if you've got a working breed or if you've got just a dog with a lot of energy. This is going to go in the solid tier for me. Number 4, puzzle toys or enrichments, sniff mats, whatever you want to call them. Now, these things are okay. There's nothing wrong with them. However, I feel they're very much overused. People think these things are problem solvers in and of themselves. A lot of people will use these in a replacement to teaching independence or teaching your dog or training your dog or taking them on walks. You just think that you can throw a bunch of cookies into a mat or a puzzle and expect that to be fulfilling enough for your dog. No, that's not how that works. If you do all the things I said, you fulfill your dog mentally, physically, and that is not what you are relying on to do that, these are fine. I would rather you just skip them altogether though, so that's where they're gonna go for me. Number 3, another controversial one, a muzzle. These are goated. These are absolutely goated. As somebody that works in behavior modification and has dogs that will bite and will use their teeth, and they learn to use teeth to get what they want, these are super important tools for owners to know how to use and to make sure that their dogs are comfortable in their tools. Most people see a muzzle and they think the dog's aggressive and killer and wants to just destroy the world, and that's not the case. It helps create safety for the owners. So for that, especially when you do it right, make sure that you're getting the dog to be comfortable in it, learning how to wear it, not just trying to muzzle them when you need them to not bite. These are an A tier for me, very solid tools. Number 2, a bark collar. This is hilarious because I will see people, I will talk with people and work with clients or consultations with people, and they are against e-collars, they're against prong collars, but they have a bark collar, they've used bark collars with their dog, or they'll use the electric fence with their dog, when in reality, that's the same kind of concept. You're trying to punish the behavior, you just don't even know what you're talking about. These things are absolutely garbage because they are correcting dogs for a very, very normal dog behavior, which is barking. I'm not saying that you shouldn't correct your dog for barking, but your dog should know where the correction is coming from. They should know that they're saying, hey, dad is saying, don't bark anymore. Mom is saying, don't bark anymore. These things are trying, again, lazy, trying to make the dog stop doing things without being very clear to them in what they're doing is wrong. These are garbage. Please don't use them. All right, number 1, and this is the most commonly used tool always, ever, and it's a leash. I think this is the single greatest tool ever made for dog training. If you know how to use it, I'm talking about like a 6-foot standard leash. If you don't know how to use this as a means of communication and it's just whatever is connecting you to your dog and your dog has no engagement with you, does not know how to turn pressure off, then yeah, this is going to be very frustrating for you. However, if you do know all of those things, if you know how to communicate with your dog via the leash, via leash pressure, everything else becomes so much easier. Most places in the entire world have leash laws. You might as well learn how to use them, learn how to use them properly, learn how to communicate via leash pressure so your dog can finally stop dragging you everywhere. These are goated. Definite S tier, goat tier for the final one on this list. So that's it, and I guarantee at least one of those you probably disagreed with me, or it maybe even made you a little bit mad, and that's fine. Dog training is supposed to make you think. Now I want to hear from you. Did I miss anything? Did I misrank something? Should something be goated and I didn't goat it? Is something not trash? Let me know. I want to continue the conversation in the comments. I'd love to make more ranking videos too, so if you want to see dog training myths or dog breeds, let me know that in the comments too. As always, please subscribe to the channel if you want more straightforward, no bullshit dog training content that actually will help you learn how to understand your dog better. I'm the Big Dog Guy, and I'll see you in the next one.